Well, hello again. I guess I guess I decided to do the part 2 breakdown of the Olifer chassis modification that was purchased from Electric Dreams Slot Cars over in California. The part number is C640011 for the Ferrari 250 GTO for the Fly slot car. Alright, so that takes care of that. And I guess now to the meat and potatoes of it. This is the venerable, I don't know, let it show up. Yeah, there it goes. That's pretty. That is the Piranha 21,500 RPM motor. That's the puppy I'm talking about. We got the white end bell, and it's got the kind of a gunmetal gray finish to the outer part of the can. I got a pinion already pressed on that one. I think actually this one here is slated for one of my Carrera cars, since it has that connector to it. But anyway, here is another Slot.it Sidewinder motor pod that I used in this conversion. And it's the gray one. Some of the stuff I don't have part numbers for. If I have time later on, I'll look back up some of these items that I purchased. Most of them were on eBay. The motor, the pod, the pinion, the Sidewinder gear, the slotted axles, and the slot invasion guide were all purchased on eBay. So anyway, what you come here for? All right. If you notice, I painted that gray chassis black so that it would blend into the interior of the car. Oh, you can see some daylight there. Yeah. Yeah. I may have taken off too much material back here that went down on the rear deck. But excuse me, like I said, this is my first go around with doing one. Now the body fits onto the chassis without any obstructions whatsoever. Excuse me. It's got plenty of wiggle room for body flow, yada, 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 yada. Now, if you don't have one, since we're getting close to Christmas, and you don't already have possession of a Dremel high-speed tool, tell your loved one, or one of your loved ones, to foot the bill at a hardware store or order it somewhere online if you can get a good deal, a Dremel, because it's going to come in handy in doing projects like these slot cars. I guarantee you. You can cut axles, you can cut plastic, you can grind. They have all kinds of bits that you can put into this Dremel to do the handiwork that you need to do. Now, one of my favorites is this disc, this cutting disc, and it's worn down quite a bit from the original diameter. It was about out to here. If I can get it, yeah, it was about out to there. But as many times as I've used it in cutting axles or cutting motor shafts, because the Piranha motors that I've been buying has a longer shaft at this end, and it's longer out at this end on your bell side, your brush side. And whichever side, depending on how the motor mounts, I'll cut the access of the motor shaft off because I don't really need it sticking out like that. So anyway, bear with me. Now all of a sudden I've got the hiccups. Anyway, go back to the Olifer chassis. As I stated in the other video, this is part deux if you're French. It's got the big head pod screws from Slot.it. Okay, I forget the sizes of those. I'd have to look it up. So I've got adjustment for the pod. Slot.it pinion, Slot.it ring, Sidewinder gear, Slot.it axles, front and back, slot invasion guide. And I love these slot invasion guides. Some people are turned off that it's red. It doesn't bother me because I'm standing above the track when I'm racing and I really don't ever see that guide. If it turns you off, then either paint it or buy you a black one from somebody else. So anyway, this chassis also has an adjustment. If it'll show up in the light. Yep, there you go. You got that hole there, that hole there, that hole right there, and there for grub screws to go into that carrier so you can adjust the axle height. Okay? Which makes it real nice for making adjustments on this. I forget what set off that particular pod has. It may be a millimeter, if anything. But yeah, that's that. Now, for the part that most of y'all are wondering about, again, using a pair of side cutters, which I was a mechanic for 39 years and I always referred to them as dikes for cutting wire or, you know, piano wire or, you know, I always called them, you know, they're a pair of dikes. Well, in this current environment, as I was informed a couple of years ago at my last employment of 39 years, somebody referred to me asking one of the other mechanics to hand me my pair of dikes. And this being the woke, broke, clown show, commie, Islamist, retard world that it is, they actually wanted me to be rode up. And that the proper word they wanted me to use was side cutters. I told them if you bought that tool for me, then I would refer to them as side cutters. But seeing how I paid for those snap-on tools, I'll call them whatever I want. Okay, well, there's your rant for today. Bunch of Kool-Aid haired biddies. But yeah, I actually got turned in for calling them dikes. Anyway, with this cutoff wheel, I was able to perform my dissection of the interior of the driver's area. And I'll try to show you this the best I can. All right, I cut that shelf off there and pretty much cut the rest of the pan area out all the way up to here. All right. Well, that driver looks like he's just kind of flying by his britches, and I guess he is. But what I did in that, and I'm doing this one-handed while holding the cell phone, what I did was I went ahead, you ain't going to see them anyway. I cut as feet off. And what I did was I put a bead of super glue along the edge of that black plastic, glued the rest of him up against that ledge of that black plastic in position, and then in turn glued his hands onto the steering wheel. That's how he's levitating. that's how he's levitating inside the car. And again, you know, unless you know what to look for, unless you're just really picky, you're not going to see, you know, most of the detail that's in it. But that's basically how I cut the plastic out. Okay, and it's just for the driver's area, the black plastic area. Again, using that cutoff wheel, my dikes, and X-Acto knife, I basically cut that out like that. All right, then I came back and glued the glass in place. And then after I got done with all my modifications of the driver's area, and you see how I go up at an angle towards the pan up here. Now, one side I had to do that more than the other side, and the reason being is if you take this and the pinion is on this side and you flip it to be installed onto the car, you're going to find out you're going to have to snip some more plastic off, or you'll hear that pinion grinding against that black plastic. Okay? And if you don't want to hear it grinding against the plastic or being interrupted by the plastic, then, and your body not fitting, you're going to have to cut out some of that. Now, there's still plenty of support between all these parts, so it's not too awfully bad. And again, I'd have to go back and do some search about that Lexan vacuum formed driver's area that they sell. But it's supposed to be a direct replacement to where you can take this out without making any modifications. Take the original driver's area out. And I don't know if they come pre-painted or not. You might have to paint them. I remember them being all black in color. So you'd have to paint your driver and his hands and the helmet and all that. But you cut it out with scissors, and it's probably marked for that tab there and that blue tab there, and this blue tab here, which is normally melted by a hot iron or something, flat, so it binds all the plastic parts against one another and you don't get any rattling. So that was my modification. Now, you notice that gray pod is now black, and I came back with some acrylic paint, and I painted the chassis pod black, and I painted my wires black. Originally, there's, you know, silicon insulated wires. And then there's my slot invasion guide. Okay? Didn't have to do anything with the front, basically. Didn't have to do anything with it. Just, you know, had the right length axle to begin with and then put the wheels on. The back, stereotypically with these flies, with any plastic wheel, and these are kind of chewed up, as you can see. You can get some cracking around where those axles went. And what I've done before is take a piece of black heat shrink that's the right diameter and fit it over the hub on the inside of that wheel that you can see there, and cut it to the right length, fit it over that hub, and take my soldering iron and heat up the heat shrink, being real careful not to get it so hot that it starts to melt the plastic, because a lot of people don't understand, the more that you heat up plastic, the more brittle it gets. Okay? And so you're taking the strength away and it's going to break and crack anyway. So I've tried that on a couple of plastic wheels and it's working fine. I went back with super glue and filled the hole up of that hub. Not all the way, maybe a quarter of the way, and then press the wheels back onto the axles, and they hold up. They seem to hold up just fine. I don't get any slipping or anything like that. That's one of the reasons why I want to go with the BRM aluminum wheels for 1/32 slot cars. They make them. You can find them on eBay or some of the other stores on the internet. The main guy that I've been buying them from is this guy here, Slot.it. I guess I took Spanish and French in 6th grade and became an understanding real quick that with my East Texas accent and my father's gift of speech, that I would basically be wasting my time and my credits trying to learn any further of a foreign language. So there you go. I only got one language, and that's somewhat English. So anyway, this guy on eBay sells those BRM wheel kits that I've been buying. And let's see. Here's a set of them on this, and I bought this body from him. But these are the aluminum BRM wheels and tires, and I love them. And they're aluminum, so they got the grub screw, so they can be mounted onto the axles. Okay. Some of them are slick, and some of them even have tread to them. Let's see. Yeah, you can kind of see the tread there. But I love them. They're gorgeous rims. They're gorgeous. And deep set like that, oh man, it looks great on these cars. So I'll have to do that modification to this car at a later date when I have more money to spend, and replace the fronts and replace the rears. And this will be one of two of my custom Fly Ferrari GT 250s. But as I said, that's basically what I had to do, was cut that whole pan out. Cut that whole pan out all the way down to the rear deck lid. Okay. And even from the rear, there's just a minimal amount of daylight that comes through. And in paint, since the chassis itself is already kind of a matte black and the dark color of that Piranha motor, and painting the wires and painting the top of the motor pod black, you really can't. You really don't notice. I mean, I know because I did it, you know, but to the average person, unless they know what to look for, they're not going to recognize that something was done unless they take the car apart. So, was it worth it to do the Sidewinder Olifer chassis mod? Well, given the fact that it's using mostly Slot.it quality parts and the slot invasion guide, I would have to give it a 10 out of 10. I'm very pleased with this setup. The car is much quieter. I don't have any more chattering with those stupid stub axles. It's got a solid axle in there now, and I can adjust the ride height however I want it. And yeah, basically that's it, man. You know, to do one more car, because I only have the 2 chassis, and then have 6 of them left over. Now, I should say, on Electric Dreams, the price on this chassis from Olifer was almost 18 bucks. It was 17.80 something, you know. So you're going to pay what you normally pay for shipping. And, you know, so for, you know, just round it off, 20, 23 bucks. Might be a little bit more. But with each one of these parts that I used was an absolute upgrade, and only made the whole finished project that much better. When you use good quality parts, and I can tell you this as a mechanic, when you use good quality parts, the outcome is always better. Okay? It's always better. Sometimes you're going to have to bite the bullet and pay a little extra for those quality parts. In the end, you do it once, it's done. You don't have to go back and do it again, or keep adding, you know, buying parts to do the upgrade that you should have done in the first place. Okay? That was always my philosophy as an engine rebuilder. So, with that being said, this is almost as long as part 1. But I thought I'd go ahead and get the video knocked out for those who were wondering what I did and how I went about doing it. Don't forget about your cutoff wheel for the Dremel. And yeah, that's basically it. I'll show you the driver's compartment one more time so it can burn into your memory. That's, if you take yours apart, and you got one and you take yours apart, that's how I cut mine up. Okay? That's how I cut it up. So, there it is in all its glory. Okay, well, I'm going to call it a day on these videos, put my car back together, and run it on the track and get some enjoyment out of it for having done all the work to it. And I'll talk to y'all later. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try my best to give you the information with what I know. Okay? I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.